So good afternoon, everyone. Thank you, Mahesh sir, for that warm introduction. So if you can just let me know if the screen is on, presentation is on, we can start. Meanwhile, you're pulling up that presentation. Just quickly want to introduce myself. My name is Avinash Gambhir. I handle employer relations at ACCA for AP and Telangana markets. Coming to ACCA, so before even starting the presentation, I was just having a quick chat with Mahesh sir in order to understand who will be the audience today, who will be attending this session. Accordingly, we will be able to address some of the concerns or queries that you have for ACCA. So I understand most of them who are attending today are either a chartered accountants with the local body or somebody who is an IPCC pass out who's in the middle of the journey with the local body. So briefly, I'll be covering certain areas where if you're already a qualified accountant with a local body, why is it important, or how does the ACCA add value to what you have already learned? So that is not one aspect. The other aspect is if you're already into a journey with the local body, either dropped out of IPCC or still pursuing the IPCC, why is it a good idea to start ACCA at this stage? So primarily my entire presentation will be focused for these two audience at the moment. Also somebody who's a BCom pass out or pursuing BCom, for them also it'll be a little insights that I'll be sharing with you in order to why you should pursue ACCA as a qualification. So next slide. So first, I would just briefly talk about who we are, what we do. ACCA is basically Association of Chartered Certified Accountants. We are the UK body, and we are the world's most forward-thinking accountancy body. I'll also cover when we say that statement, I would also justify that statement in order to say why we are the most forward-thinking accountancy body. And we have close to about 219,000 members who are fully qualified accountants with ACCA. Little over 500,000 students who are currently pursuing the qualification in about close to 179 countries. And the qualification is also accepted in more than 100 countries. The reason why I say that is because we have partnerships with a lot of other accountancy bodies around the globe. We have close to about 98 plus partnerships. So when I say 98 plus partnerships, these are the MOUs that we sign with the other bodies across the globe. For example, we have MOU signed with CPA Australia, CPA Canada, most of the accountancy bodies in Middle East, most of the accountancy bodies in Europe. So when we sign this MOU with these bodies, we acknowledge each other's qualifications and the recognize each other's qualification, and accordingly grant exemptions when you try to take up the other qualification. For example, let's say somebody has done ACCA and then now he wants to become a CPA. So there's a route that we create through that MOUs. And adding to that, we also have close to about more than 7,500 approved employers across the globe. So the partnership with the employers, when I say employers, these are organizations and corporates across the globe. So these are approved employers who acknowledges ACCA's qualification. That means they hire ACCAs, they sponsor the qualification to their employees in order to upskill the qualification. So this is to put it in a nutshell what we all do. I'll again cover about the qualification, how we can pursue the qualification in the next slide. Next slide, sir. So coming to the qualification, the ACCA qualification, when we say so, so we what ACCA does is we acknowledge your previous education qualification. So when I say we acknowledge your previous education qualification, that means ACCA overall has 13 plus papers plus ethics and professional module. And the entire qualification is divided into 3 levels: applied knowledge, applied skill, and strategic and professional level. So when I say that we acknowledge your previous qualification, so if you want to take up an ACCA qualification, for example, and if you're already a chartered accountant, if you're already a CA with the local body, so we give you 9 paper exemptions. The exemptions are of applied knowledge and applied skill level. So total 9 paper exemption, 3 plus 6 papers, total 9 paper exemptions that you get. So when I say exemptions, that means you don't have to write these papers. Reason why you don't write these papers is because these are the papers that you've already studied in your local body qualification, and there's a body that has already accredited you, saying that you have completed these papers. So likewise, for IPCCs, for example, a part qualified accountants with the local body, so you get around 5 to 6 paper exemptions. So when I say 5 to 6 is because if you are BCom plus IPCC, then you get 6 paper exemptions. If you have not done your BCom and you've been in the IPCC journey, and then you completed IPCC, let's say, but you don't have a BCom degree, so for those you get 5 paper exemption basis your qualification. That means the entire applied knowledge level, that is the 3 papers which is there, and from applied skill level, taxation, um, audit and assurance is something that is exempted. And if you are a BCom pass out with IPCC, then corporate and business law is also exempted. So the 3 papers that you'll be studying with us is performance management, financial reporting, and financial management. So when I say financial reporting is a IFRS paper, which gives you the international financial reporting knowledge, standards, or whatever information that you would need for the reporting purpose. And then you need to complete your ethics and professional module, which is a must module, and then you'll go into a strategic and professional level papers. So next slide. So also I would wanted to let you know that as part of the journey with ACCA, you are also eligible to apply for Oxford Brookes University, a BSc degree from Oxford Brookes University, and MSc degree from University of London. So MSc degree from University of London. University of London is one of the top 10 universities across the globe. So so next slide. Previous slide, please. A previous one. So yeah, so after you complete your applied skill level, that is the 9 papers, then you automatically become eligible for BSc degree from Oxford Brookes University. And after completing the full qualification, that is all the 13 papers, you automatically become eligible to for a degree from University of London. So how do you earn this degree? There's a separate process that you need to follow. But to put it in a nutshell, there's a basic, after completing these papers, you would just have to submit your thesis on a given topic, and there'll be a small interview. Once you complete that, you will be handed over the MSc degree from University of London. University of London is basically one of the top 10 universities across the globe. And getting admission in itself is a very tedious process. But when you are in path of ACCA qualification, you automatically be eligible for that. So when I say that, when you become automatically eligible, these are so whatever content or whatever information that is available as part of the MSc degree from Oxford University of London, the same syllabus is actually covered as part of the ACCA qualification as well. So when we mapped the curriculum, it is almost the same. So whatever you learn as part of the MSc degree in University of London is the same thing that you're studying with ACCA. So when we mapped it, so we have that partnership with them. So that is another advantage that you get when you pursue the ACCA qualification. So next slide. So what is it like studying with ACCA? So I'm sure you are qualified. Let's say if you're a CA or if you're an IPCC graduate. So the difference between the local body and ACCA is that the syllabus or the learning content perspective, it is on par with the local body. So when I say on par with the local body, I wouldn't demean or boost about ACCA. Any qualification that you take in the world has a similar you will be able to gain the similar knowledge from each qualification. Yes, some qualification has little more advantage for certain things, but when you compare holistically, it's almost the same. But how is ACCA different is when it comes to the flexibility aspect. So when I say flexibility, unlike the local body qualification where you have groupings, you have to pass all the papers at one go. So, you know, there's a little bit um, confusing aspects that evolve around that. So that is something which is being taken out for you in ACCA. So in ACCA, you can just select one paper and study for that paper and go write that exam for that paper. And once you pass that exam, you're through with that. So that's how the flexibility aspect that comes into picture. But when you talk about financial management, it's the same thing that you're studying in the local body qualification. So the rigorous, the amount of effort that you need to put. So this is not easy. It's on par with any other qualification in the world. So the only difference is the flexibility aspect of the qualification. And then convenience. So when I say convenience, we have exam centers in India and in Hyderabad as well. So you can book an exam and go write the exam in Hyderabad. Or for that matter, we have close to about 501 exam centers across 148 countries where you can go and write the exams. And when can you write the exams? Well, basically we conduct exams every quarter. In March, June, September, and December. So unfortunately, because of the COVID, the June exams have been cancelled in India, but you have the opportunity, once you register for the ACC qualification, you have the opportunity to write the September month exam. We are also making sure that we have remote proctoring, that is remote invigilation, where in unforeseen situations in September, let's say suppose you have booked the exam but you're not able to go to the center, then you know there is a provision that you can take where you can sit at home and write the exam. So this is for the first 9 papers as of now. So if any of the paper that you're selecting in first 9 papers, and then in September month, if you're not able to go to the center and write, you have the provision to write the exam from home. This is only for an unforeseen situation at the moment, in case if you're not able to go to the exam hall in September. So that is from the examination standpoint and from the remote proctoring perspective. So next slide. So coming to the exams. So basically, how is ACCA different compared to the other bodies is something where applied knowledge and applied skill are something which is morely from a knowledge perspective and a skill development perspective. Strategic professional level is where it'll improve your professional quotient information. So I'll cover this when I say professional quotients. I'll cover in my next slide. What does that mean? Next slide, sir. Next slide. So what ACCA does, when I say professional quotients, what ACCA has done is, remember in the first slide I said ACCA is the most forward-thinking accountancy body across the globe. The reason why we are the most forward-thinking accountancy body is because we as a qualification invest a lot in terms of research, in ACCA research. So as part of our research that we have done in 2016, which said that these are the 7 quotients that every professional accountant is required. That is experience, intelligence, creativity, digital, emotional, vision, and technical and ethical practices. So these are the 7 quotients that are very much required for any qualified accountants. And then when we talk about competencies, so we have built a competency framework in order to say that if you do ACCA qualification, what are the competencies that you will build as part of the journey. And when we again reverse mapped it with the other body qualifications, so when I say taxation competency, management accountancy competency, financial management, corporate, a bit of corporate reporting, governance, audit and assurance. So these are the competencies that most of the qualifications, professional qualifications across the globe build. So how is ACCA different is where the strategy and innovation, leadership and management, stakeholder relationship, data, digital technology, and advisory consultancy. So these are the competencies that most of the qualification do not build as part of their qualification. So these are the skill sets that you'll gain as part of the ACCA qualification. So this is the reason why you should do ACCA qualification. So how does the so you might have a question: how can a qualification build a strategy and leadership competencies? How can you build relationship management competencies? So I'll just explain that in my next slide. So next slide. So yeah, so when I talk about digital knowledge and skills we cover, so most of the qualifications say that they build digital skills, but how do you build the digital skills? So one is through our exam patterns, the way we conduct the exams. So the first 9 papers of ACCS are completely computer-based exams. So you're not writing the exam on pen and paper. So difference, what happens is, because I work with employer relations, so I head the employer relations with for AP and Telangana markets. So I interact with a lot of corporates across AP and Telangana markets, where when we talk to the corporates, so the biggest question that we take, because when we interact with CFOs or CEOs of the organizations, the biggest questions that we get is the students that who are passing out of the qualifications are not employable. So when they make that statement, what do they actually mean is, they don't question the knowledge that you gain with the qualification. They question the applicability aspect of that knowledge. So when you build knowledge as part of any qualification, the most important aspect is, how do you apply that knowledge in real world scenario? So that is where, so for example, you're studying your qualification and then you're going and writing. So let's say you're studying for financial reporting or any other paper for that matter. You go to exam, you write that exam on pen and paper. So the questions are also asked mostly from a theoretical perspective. So the local body qualification or any qualification in the world mostly focuses on the theoretical aspects of the qualification. So from ACCA standpoint, we also, the first 9 papers are completely theoretical, theory based. So whatever which is why for a CS, those 9 papers are exempted if you're a chartered accountant. So since you've already have that theoretical knowledge, we don't want you to again come to ACCA and write the same papers or demonstrate the same skill sets that you've already gained, which is why these 9 papers are exempted for you. And then when you come to strategic and professional level papers, that's are mostly that's where you apply these 9 paper knowledge and solve the problems. That's how the ACCA qualification is different. So for example, strategic business leader is completely a case study driven paper. And what are the contents that are covered as part of the case study is technology and data analytics, big data and data analytics, cloud and mobile technology. So these are all the information that you need to be aware of apart from the technical knowledge that you have gained. So these are the syllabus that are covered that you will be studying, and then there'll be a situation given to you in the exam. So I'll come to that in my next slide about the strategic and business leader paper. So that's how the ACCA qualification is different, and that's how we are building you the the knowledge or a skill set or a competency for that matter that is required for you when you go to the when you go and work with the corporates. So that is where is lacking. That's how the ACCA is building up that skill set. So similarly with the other papers as well, like advanced performance management and so on and so forth. So this is how the technology part is also covered as part of our curriculum and how we build that skill set for you. So next slide. So when I was talking about strategic and business leader, I'm not sure if this video is going to play. Yeah. So can you just click on that and see if you can play that video? Watch here. So a YouTube link should open, or maybe what you can do is you can just paste this link uh, in the comment box or maybe in a description way, where this video talks about how the strategic business leader paper is different compared to any other qualification across the globe. So it builds the skill sets that it builds is mostly from so can you that's fine, that's okay. You can just probably copy that link and paste it in the description. We can continue. If you can go back to the presentation.
Okay. Can you go to presentation?
Yeah.
Find out about the new Strategic Business Leader exam, you will see that one of its most important
I think there'll be a lot of buffering, and then there'll be a lot of
important features is that 20 of the 100 marks available are allocated to professional skills. The exam integrates technical and professional skills in tasks that will require you to apply your technical knowledge in the context of the case and to demonstrate one of 5 specific professional skills specified in the syllabus. Let's look at these skills. Communication means expressing yourself clearly and convincingly. Depending on the requirements, you may have to inform, persuade, or clarify. Commercial acumen means having awareness of the wider business and external environment and using judgment and insight in reaching appropriate solutions. Analysis means investigating, making inquiries, and considering your findings. You will have a wide range of information to analyze in the case exhibits so that you can make the most appropriate recommendations. Skepticism. In common sense terms, being skeptical means not taking information at face value. In the exam, this involves probing deeply into issues and problems, questioning facts and challenging information to establish the real picture of what's going on. And finally, evaluation means carefully assessing information given to you to make the best decisions. It can include estimating future trends or likely implications for the organisation and appraising these in a balanced way before making a recommendation. The examining team also wants you to demonstrate general professionalism, including making the most important points, not repeating points, and addressing the requirements as written. When you start studying for SPL, you must practice the skills alongside the technical aspects. We encourage you to seek tuition from an approved learning partner, whose tutors will be integrating skills development into their teaching. Question practice with feedback on your answers is vital, so that you can build up confidence in your ability to apply the skills. The marking schemes in the specimen exams show how the skills are assessed. You'll see that each skill is described in terms of how they should be demonstrated in each task. To start developing your professional skills, make sure you work through the Ethics and Professional Skills module. You should do this before attempting any of the strategic professional exams, especially SPL. Find other great resources to support you with professional skills in the SPL section of the ACCA website. Start preparing today.
so you can go to the presentation, sir.
Yeah.
So meanwhile, the presentation is pulled out. So I'll just give you a brief on what does a video talk about. So video talks about how SBL paper, when we say it is a more practical approach, so how are you demonstrating those skills? So I'll give you an example. The questions, that the way the questions are asked in the SBL paper is, as you can see here, this is the computer-based exam. And then, there are 6 exhibits. That means there are 6 questions. Out of these questions, the entire out of the 100 marks, 20 marks are given for your professional, the way you handled those questions, the way you given your answers. So how do you demonstrate that professionalism as part of the outcome that you're showing? And then you would have to give clarifications for certain things. So I'll give you a small example. Let's say suppose you're working in an organization and you report to a CFO, you are an assistant to a CFO, for example, let's say, and a company goes through a cyber attack. So that's a case study that is built into. So what we normally do is, for the SBL, especially case study papers, we work with a lot of corporates. We understand what are the current challenges that they are facing, the real world challenges. We take those challenges, make it as part of a case, and present it as part of the exam. So that means you're actually solving a real world problem. And that these are not hypothetical questions. These are not cases that is derived from theory. These are practical cases that are organized. The present organization is going through. We convert that into a case and present it. Of course, we pagerize the names of the organizations and so on and so forth. But the problem remains the same. So that is something that been thrown to you as part of the exam. So within 4 hours, you would have to solve that case. So how do you solve that case is where I'll give you a small example where, let's say, suppose an organization goes through a cyber attack. So now when you say a cyber attack, it is mostly a IT related problem. So how is finance involved in it? So that is where you would have to start thinking from an organization standpoint. Let's say suppose if it's a cyber attack, that means there'll be a reputation loss when it goes on to the market, say the information goes into the market saying that X company has been, the data has been stolen, or there's a ransomware or whatever is the IT issue. When that happens, there'll be a business loss to the organization. That means your customers might be worried of the data security and then stop doing business with you, so on and so forth. And then when that happens, there'll be a business loss. There's be a financial loss to the organization. And then that financial loss is something that you will need to foresee and then report to the CFO. So for that purpose, you will be asked to prepare a report in order to show what are your findings to a CFO. Or let's say suppose a CFO, there might be another question saying that, considering the current situation, what should be our communication to the board? What should be our communication to our stakeholders? What should be our communication to external stakeholders, that is to media? Let's say suppose a CFO comes and says, in next 2 days, we would have to release a press release from our side for this IT related issue from a financial standpoint. So, prepare a report, a consolidated report in terms of what is it that we want to share. So you would have to think that you are doing a press release and write that report. So the questions could be anything. So you cannot really prepare for a specific set. Like when we talk about theories, what happens is, this is a problem, and probably the names will be changed, but the problem remains the same. When you're solving when you're preparing a balance sheet, let's say suppose, ideally, so it's a set, how to prepare it. But this SBL case study driven paper, the way you prepare is you need to have an open mind, you need to have that commercial acumen, knowledge. So there's a lot of other things that you need to prepare, not just the books, but you would also need to read newspapers in order to see how the communication is structured. So there is a lot of insights that goes into preparing for an SBL paper. So I have another link. Maybe Mahesh sir, you can just copy paste that link in description, the second video also, that talks about, this is what we have done is we have done a small video shoot saying that how a SBL exam actually happens. So because it's a very long video, I wouldn't recommend to play it here. maybe you can paste that. It's a 7 minutes video, so you can maybe just copy that link and paste it in the description. People can go through that. So that is a rail company. The screen that you see, this rail company, a CEO. So you, as an auditor, you would have to give your analysis in order to the CEO statement that was given, to analyze the financial statements. And then there's a small video that we have done. So these are the woman who is doing the work in the video is actually you in the exam. You need to collect that information, and know the way that woman is reporting those problems. You would have to report that as an exam in the exam. So that's how the SBL paper is completely structured. So that's how you will. So these are the things that are required by the organizations. So this is the knowledge. This is the way that a company would need their employees to work. So once you move from the academics to the corporate world, that's the knowledge, that's the skill sets that companies are looking at. So that is these are the skill sets are not being built by any other qualification in the world, which is why the SBL papers are not exempted for the CS, even for the local body qualified accountants. These are the skill sets that has not been built by any other qualification, which is why we enforce these things, these papers to for anybody who's taking up the qualification to go through these exams. So next slide.
Stuck.
Next slide.
I think it's over now.
No. Yeah, so this is the next slide. So ethics and professional module. Yeah, this one.
Yes, okay.
So ethics and professional module, that we said it is a mandatory module. So apart from the 13 papers that you're doing, this ethics and professional module is also very important. So we would recommend you to, even if you are if you get 9 paper exemption, you don't get exemption from this module. This is a mandatory module for you. So I have also pasted all the links wherever that is required in the presentation, and I've shared the presentation with Mahesh sir. Maybe you can share these links with everyone for their knowledge and understanding. But I just wanted to emphasize that is before you take the SBL paper, you need to finish the ethics and professional module, because this is to put it in a very comical way. Before even going and watching a 3-hour movie, most of them would like to see a trailer and then decide whether you want to go and write the exam or not, whether you want to go and watch the movie or not. So the ethics and professional module is like a trailer before the big movie that is the SBL. So just to put it in a nutshell. Next slide, sir. So coming to the ACCA qualification. So now that we have talked about ACCA qualification, what else that is involved with ACCA? So we talked about 13 papers plus ethics and professional module, and how does these help you in your professional development? People who are stuck in the middle level, who wants to go to the next level but they're not able to progress, or you are frustrated with not able to clear the IPCC and you have dropped out from the local body. For all those people, the ACCA qualification is a good opportunity to pursue, because we don't have the grouping structure. You can just select one paper. You can manage the qualification while also working, while also dedicating 9 hours of work, maybe an hour or two a day, or just you want to do a marathon on a weekends, like spending 4 to 5 hours on your weekends. So you can dedicate, you can do that work-life balance and yet pursue the ACCA qualification and yet become a ACCA qualified accountant. So when I talk about a journey for a CA, let's say suppose if you are already a chartered accountant, and if you want to upgrade yourself, if you want to upskill yourself and get this additional knowledge that the ACCA provides, for you to complete the ACCA qualification, it will be probably an year. Even if you take one paper in 1 quarter and finish it up in 4 quarters, so within a year you'll complete the qualification. This I'm saying keeping your work-life balance. Not just quitting your job and doing the qualification. If you do that, probably you'll finish it up in 1 quarter or maximum 2. But I'm not suggesting that, but that giving you that information. And if you're an IPCC pass out, and if you want to get into ACCA, let's say, for you it'll be maximum a year and a half for you to complete the qualification. So that's about the ACCA qualification and how it will help you. Adding to that, once you complete all the 13 papers, you need to earn 36 months of PER. So when I say PER, which is professional experience required to earn the membership, to become an ACCA member, the way you do 3 years of articleship under an accountant or a chartered accountant, it's similarly, but the difference is this 36 months. So this 3 years of experience, that is 36 months of experience, you can claim while pursuing the qualification, or if you already have 3 years of work experience before even enrolling for ACCA, or post completing the 13 papers. So all experience is something that you can count for that 36 months. So that is one. And now let's say suppose the way I have come and the way the ACCA is saying that these are the skill sets that you build as part of ACCA qualification. And once you complete the qualification, then what? How does your learning continue? Because this is a never changing world. The way the jobs are 20 years back, if you see any qualification 20 years backwards, and or any work or any job descriptions 20 years backdated, the jobs have changed, the requirements for that jobs have changed, the designations have changed, the way companies are doing business has changed, and going forward it's going to change even more because of the technology. So how do you keep up with these changes? So that's where the 40 hours of CPD comes into your account. So after you complete ACCA qualification and gain 36 months of PER, and then you become an ACCA member, for example. So just to put it in for the record, even the articleship that you have done under a CA can be counted as 3 years of experience for ACCA, that is for the PER. So even if you are an IPCC pass out, you completed your 3 years of articleship, went on to write CA, but you did not clear, and then you got frustrated, you dropped out. So that experience also you can count. So once you complete all the 13 papers, you can take that experience, present it to ACCA saying that you have done this, and then you can directly become an ACCA member and become a qualified accountant straight away. That's so just for the record. So after you become the ACCA member, how does your learning continue? How does you keep up with the changes that are happening in the world? So for that, we have something called 40 hours of CPD. So every year, in order to maintain your membership, you need to key in 40 hours of learning. So each hour of learning is 1 unit of CPD. So you need to gain 40 hours in year. So how do you get these CPDs? So can you go to the next slide? So for any ACCA members, so 40 hours. So next slide.
Yeah.
So how to gain this CPD after you become an ACCA member? ACCA is tied up with a firm called Accounting CPD. You can, so these are all the job profiles that once you complete ACCA, you'll be eligible. That means most of the corporates hire ACCAs for these roles. You can, if you want more information, you can just click on the link. It will directly take you. So maybe you can copy paste this link also, sir, saying that what are the job roles that ACCA is eligible for. So the next slide.
Okay.
So apart from so how is ACCA different compared to any other bodies across the globe is where we have our own career portal. That means, as you can see, this is the homepage of our career portal, and the jobs come in from close to about 179 countries. If you do a filter, you'll also see jobs from India. So companies are posting jobs. So almost all the big four hires ACCA qualified accountants, and salaries. You can just yeah, I don't want to boast about this, but you can go to the jobs.acca.com, and you'll be able to see by yourself how many jobs are available for ACCA qualified accountants. And you can just probably, if you want to go to some other country practice, if you want to go to some other country work, this is the best place for you to search for ACCA related jobs. So we are the only body across the globe who does this kind of work with our members. So we post jobs, we talk to corporates. So if after completing ACCA, if you're looking for a job, we also help you in finding one. So next slide. So I talked about the CPD, the 40 hours of learning that a ACCA, a qualified accountant, is required to key in every year. So there is something called accounting CPD, where you can log in, and there is close to about more than 1,000 hours of learning available there for ACCA members. So you can keep up with changes. So what we also do is we do a lot of research in the field of finance and accountancy as a accountancy body. Through that research, we also keep changing our qualification. Like for example, the research that I was talking about in 2016, which showed us that what are the professional quotients that a professional accountant is required going forward, basis which we changed our qualification and bought in the SBL and SBR papers. So SBL is a completely a case study driven paper. So before 2016, the SBL case study paper was not existing in our qualification. So likewise, ethics and professional module was also being introduced post that research. So now in in February, we released a new research report on accountancy careers in 2020s. So these are the 5 career zones that ACCA sees going into the future, and how these career zones are getting navigated. So you probably have a vertical career growth, you might have an horizontal career growth. So because of the change in the technology, how the career zones are changing. So next slide. So you can go to our website, go to the accountancy careers career zones of 2020s, read through the full report. You will exactly get to know where the future is headed, what roles will be available in the future, what roles are going to go extinct, because with a lot of automation, with a lot of RPA being introduced within the organizations, a lot of technology being bought in with by the organizations, how are the finance roles changing going forward, and what are the skill sets that are required for the future that you need, which will help you to be very relevant in the current context. So what we also did as part of the research was mapped the future career zones that are required by the professional accountants, mapped it with our current curriculum, the curriculum that is available in ACCA, that if you enroll, what you study. So we have mapped, so anything that you see highlighted with red is something that is covered as part of ACCA qualification, and anything that you see in white or pink, so pink is somewhere in the middle, it's not fully covered, or it says we don't cover this part of the qualification in the. So this I'm talking in 2020. In next 10 years, the skill sets that are required for a professional accountant, so that how ACCA qualification is covered in each career zone. So if you see assurance advocates, sustainable trailblazer is where we mostly 90% of the skill sets that are required in the future is covered as part of the ACCA qualification. Digital playmaker, if you see, close to about 70% is covered as part of the qualification. So these, I'm just not talking the roles that are required today. I'm talking about a future next 10 years, the roles, the skill sets that are required for the organizations to perform these tasks, how the ACCA qualification covers those skill sets, the future related skill sets. So if you want to deep dive to understand these things, I would recommend you to go to our website. There is a placeholder called Professional Insights. If you click on that, it will take you through the humongous research that ACCA does. So not only in the future careers, there's a lot of other work that ACCA also does in terms of research in machine learning, research in RPA, research in artificial intelligence, or for that matter, the new research report that we have released is integrated reporting. So back in 1996, ACCA was the first body to introduce IFRS as part of their syllabus. And we are very well known for our IFRS related reporting. So now from last 4 years, we've been telling the world that the world is changing, the reporting standards are being changed, the way you report your financials are changing, the way investors perceive these reports change. So introduction of companies like Zomato, Uber, where they don't own a lot of assets. It's all based on the value that they create. So how do you convert that value in terms of financial viabilities? So that is something where integrated reporting is helping a lot of organization in terms of to report these, convert these intangible assets to a value related information. So that's a new research that ACCA has done. I would definitely recommend you to go read that. So not only these things, but there's a lot of research that ACCA does. So the research that we do actually helps us analyze what will happen in the future, and we try to add whatever is required for our students to gain the knowledge is something that we make it part of our curriculum. That is why I say we are the most forward thinking accountancy body across the globe. So next slide. So these are the 20 trends as part of the same research. We have identified these are the 20 trends. The biggest trend that we see is rent a CFO. So now most of the companies may not have CFOs. They might, rent a CFO. The way you rent, the way you don't own a cab, but own a car, but you can call a cab and go in a cab. So in next 10 years, that's going to be a big shift in terms of the future trends. So likewise, there are a lot of trends that we see. You can go not going into detail each one of the trend, but you can go to our website and read these in detail. So next slide. So before I end my presentation today and before I take any questions, I would just like to quote a statement by McKinsey and Company back in 2017 when they released their report, which said that if history is any guide, we could also expect that 8 to 9% of 2020 labor demands will be in a new type of occupations that have not existed before. So that means by 2030, the 10% of the workforce will be in roles that we have not seen in the past. So I would definitely recommend you to just look at that statement and see whether do you have the skill set going forward into the future. And if you feel that you're not sure, I would definitely recommend you to take up the ACCA qualification, because it fits right perfectly to address that concern going into the future, specifically for the accountants, any accountant for that matter. Next slide, sir. And if you have any questions now, sir, I would like to hand it over to you, back to you, and take if any questions, if anybody has.
Thank you, Anas, for your valuable information. So even I am from 2016 onwards, so I learned a lot of things. So I need to go to this also. Definitely. So it is forward thinking. What you mentioned, the last statement. So in 2030, so 10% of the labor demand is they're looking for the new positions means that means whatever we are having skill set, whatever positions we are having as of now. So in that out of 10%, they are the new position, new roles means definitely if you think it as a forward direction, definitely if you plan in such a manner, definitely, so we will get a lot of opportunities, and also it is possible to us to reach the top position in the company, and also we can set up as a entrepreneurs also, because by using all these concepts, rent a CFA is there. So this type of concept, definitely you don't need any investment in market. At the same time, definitely there is a lot of scope to grow yourself as an entrepreneur. So thank you, Anush, definitely. So I will share this information to the students also. So thank you.